Melanie Pendlebury. Welcome to my channel where we talk all things writing and publishing. Today is my first video, and for my first video, we're going to talk about how I got a book deal without an agent. So if you are new to writing and publishing, most people think that you need an agent to get a book deal. And that is usually the case. If you want a book deal with one of the top 5 publishers, that's definitely the case. I do not publish with one of the top 5 publishers, and I do have an agent now, but for my first book, A Girl Called Ruthless, I did not have an agent. And here is how I got my agent. So the first thing that I did is I wrote a book, and I made sure that it was as perfect as I could make it. I did not pay an editor, but I had a lot of people read it. I had a lot of people look over it and give me suggestions and made it as perfect as I possibly could. And then I crafted a query letter, which is basically like a bio of what your book is about. You give some titles of your book that is similar, and you give reasons for why you are querying or asking someone to pick up your book or represent your book. So most of the time, queries letters go to agents, which was my ultimate goal. I wanted to have an agent pick up my book, so I sent my query letter to agents. But I got rejections, and ultimately I did not get an offer from an agent. I didn't query for that long. I know some people query for many, many years, and I did not do that. I actually got really lucky really quickly, and I started doing things called pitch events on Twitter, and this is ultimately where my success comes from. And I know recently they've stopped doing some of the pitch events that they used to do in the past. The one that I got picked up on was called Dark Pitch, and it's basically because my book had dark themes in it. It wasn't a horror book, it was a middle grade book, but there was some, sad parts in it. It wasn't like a romance, feel-good kind of book. I wrote a tweet that was about 280 characters just describing what my book was. I had a writing group that looked over my pitch, and they told me how to make it better. And then I tweeted, I think, 3 times a day. And then how it works is if an agent or a publisher wants you to send more of your story to them, they'll like your tweet. I had some agents that liked my tweet, and I had some publishers that liked my tweet. And one of those publishers was Darkstroke Publishing, who published my book, A Girl Called Ruthless, in 2021. So they asked me to send them more material, and then that ultimately led to an offer of representation. And I decided to go with them because I really didn't have any aid. Although I had some fulls out, once I did get the offer, I nudged the agents that had my full out and said, hey, I have an offer. And they ultimately told me to go with the author. Querying is really, really competitive. They probably had a lot of other stuff to look at. And they probably weren't going to offer me anything. I ended up going with the offer for the small press, and before I was doing that, I had some people that were just basically telling me to be wary because your debut book is so important to your career, and if it didn't do really well, then that could negatively impact the rest of your career. But the way that I saw it, I didn't want to self-publish this book because I didn't want to spend money on self-publishing, and also I wanted the experience of being traditional published. And so I decided to go with the offer just because it seemed like the only option. And I'm actually very happy that I decided to go with the offer. If I did decide to self-publish that book, I would have made more money. I would have had to spend a lot of money to edit the book, to create a cover, to format it, to do all that stuff. So actually, I don't know if I would have made more money. So I am happy with my decision to go with the small press. I did become a bestseller. I did win an award. I won the Reader's Choice Award of 2021 for young adult and middle grade. So that was really great. And I ultimately got my agent because she read my book. She saw that I was querying another book because I wanted an agent and I wanted to get a bigger publishing deal. So because of that, now I have an agent, and now I'm on submission, and hopefully we'll get a bigger publishing deal. So ultimately, I think it was a good decision. Another thing that I was thinking about, and I've realized now in my career, if it would have done bad, like let's say I got really bad reviews, let's say it had really, really bad sales, or it was just very poorly received, I could always write under a pen name. Would kind of stink for me because personally I want my biggest success to be under my own name. But it wouldn't be the end of my career if it went really horrible. And I think also during my debut, what kind of scared me is your debut seems like the best book you're ever gonna write. And now I've written like 5 books since that book was published. And I'm just glad that I got it out there, and I have so many more books to share. And if that book wasn't a success, at least people got to read it, and it's not the end of the world. So that's how I was traditionally published without an agent, and hopefully that gives you some inspiration. Maybe look into small presses and think about querying them, or just look into different options. Sometimes self-publishing is the best option, especially if you write fantasy romance. You can get a lot of recognition, and you could also make a lot of money, and that can lead you to bigger, better things. But ultimately, when you're deciding to self-publish or traditionally publish, you need to think about what is most important to you. Is it money? Is it fame? Is it, just a feeling of accomplishment? Those are things that you need to take into consideration. And I can do another video later on talking about the difference between self-publishing and traditionally publishing and what you need to think about when considering. Also, if you want to see a video about how I got my agent, comment down below. Comment anything else you want to see in the future from me. And I hope this video was helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.